Look at the display. That big white box there is supposed to be chat. But at least for streaming, supposedly, looks like we're streaming okay. The stream health is excellent, so that's good. But for some reason, the chat is not connecting today, so that doesn't surprise me because YouTube can be a little bit persnickety sometimes. So I'm not that surprised. So if you try to get in the chat, it probably won't work. But you'll just have to, I guess, listen to me today. I've got my tea, I've got my honey. So we're all ready to wrap this thing up this week up. All week we've been talking about link stories, and today we're just going to touch very briefly on editing and kind of talk a little bit about how to edit videos that will reflect the story, that will increase the story, the importance of the story. We want to try to edit our videos so that the story comes through in a very bold and solid way. So there are some things that we can do. Now, I am not a technician. I'm not going to use this channel or this live stream to talk about technical issues and give demonstrations on how to do things from a technical point of view. There are other streamers that can do that and do that much better. And the longer I do these live streams, the more I think about the direction it's going to take, and I think it's going to head toward the direction of why we do live streaming rather than the how. Instead of the how we do things, I want to explore the reasons why we create certain kinds of videos and why YouTube is so hard to break into, seemingly, for new creators. And why do you create content? I mean, what got you into creating content? Why are you here? Why do you bother creating videos? What is it? What does it do for you? I guess what I'm talking about here is more of a philosophical discussion on this live stream rather than a technical one. I want to talk about the human condition and what we can do as content creators to speak to that human condition. I want to go deeper. I don't want to talk about how to edit a photo on Photoshop. I don't want to talk about how to design a thumbnail using CapCut or using Canva or some other program. There's other people that can do that. I want to get a little bit deeper. I want to go under the surface and get into the guts of content creation, what it takes and why we do it. And I was thinking about this yesterday because there are some philosophical questions that come up that I struggle with. And it all has to do, I guess, with our own personal point of view, our own personal take on how to create content on social media and why we do it and how do we do it and how do we define success and how do we make sure we're doing all we can to be a success, those kinds of issues, those kinds of things. I want to talk about issues that seemingly go on YouTube. They issues that are not that talked about that often. So I guess what I'm talking about here is philosophy, a philosophy of content creation. And it's going to start with me and my own personal philosophy of being a content creator. And that's going to be the starting point. And I'm going to be sharing on my live stream and sharing through videos, a series of videos, my exploration into the philosophy of content creation. And I know you're going to ask, you're going to say, okay, well, what the hell are we talking about here? When you say philosophy, it's not going to be anything so complicated. Let me go into ChatGPT and show you the roadmap. I'm going to use Mr. GPT here to give me the roadmap. And you'll notice I've created a project here in ChatGPT. And under the project, Even Rabbits, that's my channel. That's this channel. You'll notice I've got a section here, Content Creation Philosophy. And basically what I did was I asked Mr. GPT to give me some suggestions on how I go about developing a personal philosophy of content creation. Here was the question. If I wanted to develop a philosophy of content creation for social interest media, how would I go about doing that? What elements and questions and issues should a philosophy have? How do you develop a philosophy? What questions, what issues should I address that will give it some solid and authentic weight? And Mr. GPT came back and said, well, think of it like building a worldview. You're defining how and why you create, just not what you post. So here's the roadmap. Here's the roadmap. Excuse me, I'm turning up a little. I want a little bit of music here. We need some philosophy. We need some philosophy music. I'm not going to go too deep into this. I just wanted to show you. Start with the core pillars. Every philosophy needs a backbone. These are the 4 most important pillars for a content creation philosophy. Purpose. Why do I create? What problems am I solving? What impact can I have? And then number 2, here's principles. What rules do you refuse to break no matter what? Consistency, curiosity, etc. Practices. What behaviors and habits support your philosophy? And perspective. How do you see your audience, yourself, and platforms you're creating for? And I'm going to suggest that this will help all of us as content creators if we go through this exercise of coming up with our own personal philosophy of content creation. That's what I'm going to promote. Now, I know many of you are going to be lazy. Many of you are not going to look at this. You're going to roll your eyes and you're going to say, Mitch has lost his mind. He wants me to develop and write a philosophy of content creation. But I think it will really solidify our take on this whole matter of producing content for YouTube and for other social media. Look at some of the questions that give your philosophy weight. Who am I as a creator? What do I refuse to compromise? What do I believe about creativity itself? What role does the creator play in modern culture? And then there's questions here for the audience. Questions about value. Questions about the process. Ethical questions. Technological questions. What's the role of AI? What's the responsibility of someone with the audience? Do you think you have a responsibility if you have a large audience? How do I balance humanity with automation? All of these are important issues that most YouTube creators, I'm going to say 90%, maybe 95% of YouTube creators have never addressed these issues in a personal way. They've not sat down and thought through these issues. That's my opinion anyway, and I'm going to stick to it. Issues I should wrestle with: authenticity, performance, value versus virality, quantity versus quality, art versus strategy. So you can see this is going to be a rather in-depth, deep study of why I'm a content creator and how I'm going to approach making content on social media. And then here's the guidelines. Here's how to actually build the philosophy. Define my origin story. Write my 5 non-negotiables. Write your worldview in 10 sentences, etc., etc. So, we're talking about philosophy, developing a core philosophy for content creation. So what do you think? Have I lost my mind? Is this something you'd be interested in doing along with me as we start diving into some of these issues? And I think by the end of the process of going through this, and once we write down and clearly think out a clear philosophy of content creation for ourselves, of course, yours is going to be different than mine. Mine's going to be unique to me. It's going to be personal. And yours is going to be personal and unique to you. You're going to answer those questions in a different way. So there's not one particular philosophy. It's my philosophy of content creation. And I've got to believe that if we go through the process of dealing with these issues and hash them out, perhaps write them out in a notebook and really give it some thought, I think we'll come out on the other side much more prepared to handle YouTube and to create content that will have meaning and to develop channels that will be special and will have meaning and be important to us and to our viewers. So over the next few days and weeks, I'll be working on my philosophy of content creation. Mr. GPT is going to help me with the guidelines, steps to take. And I hope you'll come along for the ride. I'll be sharing here and there a little bit about what I'm learning about myself and about my philosophy, and it will give me a foundation on which to build when I make content in the future. That's the goal. So, since we don't have chat available, you'll have to jump into comments after this live stream is over and let me know what you think. Comments hopefully will be available. So we'll go from there. Well, let's see. As I say, we've been talking about story all week long. And today is the 5th day. We're going to wrap up our discussion of story, developing story, and having a narrative in our videos, in our content. And I wanted to real briefly show you something I came across in my stream yesterday, and I wanted to tie it into the discussion of story. We talked about what a story is and what the elements of a story are. And Tim Runia, we saw a video by Tim yesterday, and he came up with these 5 lines. He called them 5 elements of a story. He listed them out and gave some excellent illustrations and examples. And he says if you go through all 5 of these steps, then you'll have a good story. Situation, desire, conflict, change, result. It all starts in Act 1 here, the setup, where you define the situation and the desire. That's going to be at the very beginning of your video. I'm going to try to explain the situation and the desire. What is it you want? In Act 2, we're going to have some rising tension and conflict. There's going to be some things that are going to happen to us in Act 2 that are going to cause us some problems. We're going to have some issues to overcome. We're going to have a mountain to climb. We're going to have some conflicts to deal with. And then at some point, we're going to have a change. Something's going to happen that shifts our activity, our action. It may cause us to make a change in some way. And that will propel us into the third act, which is the result, the resolution. So think about your next video. When you're designing your next video, think about situation, defining the situation and the desire, and then try to throw in some conflict, try to throw in some issues and problems, trouble, and see if there's something that has changed either in your behavior or in your attitude, or maybe a change in location or physical direction or movement. And then at the end, you're going to resolve the issues and everything's going to have a nice result. The story's going to wrap up nicely and have a nice ending. And if you think about how this could work out in a real life situation, just take any video idea that lends itself to a life experience. Let's say you're going to shoot a video on a fishing trip. You're going to go fishing, and in fact, your channel is about fishing. And so you're going to shoot a video about a fishing trip to a particular lake that you've traveled to. Well, at the first part of the video, you're going to try to define the situation. What's the starting point of the video? What's the situation? Where are you located? Are you after a certain kind of fish? What is your goal for the fishing trip? That kind of thing. You want to define the situation and talk about your desire. What is it that you hope to get out of the trip? And then as you move on through the video into Act 2, you're going to come up with some sort of an issue, some sort of a problem. Now, there is no perfect day. There's no perfect fishing trip. Something is going to go wrong. It may not be a drastic problem or a big conflict, but maybe, you'll break something. Maybe the motor will conk out. Maybe the battery will go dead. Maybe the fishing lure you have is broken or you lose it. Maybe a fish eats it and you can't retrieve your favorite lure. Maybe a fish jumps into the boat. There's got to be something that will happen throughout the day that can be an issue, be a problem. Maybe it's the weather. Maybe an unexpected storm comes up. There's something that is going to have to add some tension, some conflict within the video to give it some sort of interesting weight. Instead of just, showing you having a great day fishing, throw in some conflict. I'm not saying create it artificially, but just look for it. Look for the problems that come up and be sensitive to the issues that come up. And think about what kind of a conflict could occur. And then think about a change that may happen. What kind of a change came over you during the day? Maybe it was based on that particular conflict. Maybe the stress or the problem, the issue caused you to change in some way. Maybe you were excited about fishing on this particular lake and you haven't had a bite. You haven't caught one fish. Well, that's a problem. That's an issue. And how's that going to change you? Well, it'll change you by realizing you're never coming back to this lake again. You're crossing this lake off your list. It's a crummy lake. Evidently, the fish aren't biting here. So that's a change. It doesn't have to be anything monumental. We're just looking for ways to weave a story into your video. And then toward the end, you're going to wrap things up in a nice package in a result. Have an ending for the video. This is all about having some intention when we film. Having something to say. Having some lesson or takeaway. You have to ask yourself, well, why am I making this video? What's the purpose? Is there a reason? And if there's no purpose, if there's no reason to be shooting this video, then why are you doing it? I don't want to waste my time shooting a video that has no reason or no, there's no reason for me to do it. I mean, why should I waste my time? And that's why planning ahead will help us. Planning our videos in advance, we can give it some thought as to why do we want to shoot this particular video? What are we trying to get across? What are we trying to communicate to the viewer? What is it we're trying to say? So that's what we're talking about in terms of story. We've been talking about it all week, about trying to weave a narrative into your videos. And I know it's hard. It's hard. And I've got to learn how to do it myself. I've got to get more comfortable with thinking in terms of story and narrative. So it's an encouragement to you and to me as well to try to be more intentional with our video scripts and with our video shooting, to try to weave in some sort of a story, a narrative. Well, today we're talking about, just real briefly, not going to get technical here. We're just going to talk about, in broad terms, we're going to talk about editing the content so that the story hits harder. And these are some suggestions on what we can do to make our editing help us tell the story. Number one here. Start your edit by cutting everything that slows the story down. Boy, if you watch YouTube like I do, and you see so many videos, and you watch these videos, you get to the point where you're saying, boy, you could cut that out. You could trim this thing down. You can cut that whole scene out because it's unnecessary. There's always things that I see in a video that can be cut, can be edited out. And these 38-minute videos can be sliced in half. I'm convinced most of them could be sliced in half. Longer videos are not necessarily more successful and more entertaining than shorter ones. What we're looking for here is to cut out the slop. Look for the things that are unnecessary and are not moving the story forward, and just cut those things out. And what will happen is, I think, once we become more accustomed to doing this, we can actually shoot with edits in mind. In other words, I can shoot throughout the day the video thinking, this is where I'm going to be editing. I'm going to edit this out. Before I shoot a scene, I'm going to go ahead and say, I don't need it. It's not necessary. And I'm not going to waste my time shooting it. So we can save ourselves a lot of editing time if we shoot with edits in mind. If we think ahead of ourselves and say, okay, do I really need this scene? And maybe I shouldn't shoot it. Do I really need this B-roll? Is this B-roll really going to help me? Then why waste time shooting it? The second idea here is to use pauses, music, or silence to emphasize an emotional beat. You see this a lot in really good edited videos where an emotional reaction on camera will be emphasized by sometimes silence. There'll be some music or some sound clipping along nicely, and then all of a sudden there'll be a total silence on the reaction of the person on camera. Music is a big part of emotions, of bringing in the emotions where we want them to be. And the types of music we bring in helps us get across the emotional beat. If it's a sad situation in the scene, if it's a sad moment, we want to bring in some sad music. If it's a happy time, and bring in some happy music. Think in terms of mood. And it's okay to have some silence. It's okay to pause in a video and have some silence. And I'm learning this from a live stream standpoint, that it's okay for me to not have to fill every single second with my voice. We can eliminate the awkward uhs that many of us are stuck with. We say, what am I going to say next? And early on, I caught myself saying a lot. I would say, well, let me think about this. Well, what's going to happen next? Well, I don't know about that. I wouldn't say, but I would say, well, I don't know. While I'm giving my brain time to think about what I'm going to say next, I would often say, well, I don't know. So to eliminate those, we have to become comfortable with the idea that silence is okay. Pauses are okay. In fact, it can help us because it gives the viewer some breathing space. It gives them time to relax a bit and to think through what you're saying. Some videos, you've seen them too, some videos, some content creators, when they talk on camera, it's like this. It's all shots. They won't shut up. They won't pause. They won't have any silence. It's just bam, 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 bam. And by the end of the video, you're wore out. Or at least I am. So it's good to have some built-in moments of silence and pauses. And you want to look for those emotional beats when they can be used. Well, let's see. Number 3 here. The old cliche, show, don't tell, which we've heard ad nauseum, especially if you've ever been in school. Show, don't tell. Use visuals to support your words. And it's hard to do in a live stream. I need to try to work on that. because so much of what I do is off the top of my head, so it's hard for me to prepare in advance to have some visuals. I guess if I did more scripting out portions of the live stream, I could bring in visuals because I know in advance what I'm going to say. But for me, a live stream, the fun of the live stream is to be thinking off the cuff, thinking off the top of your head, just using bullet points, and then letting your thoughts come forward as they will. So it's difficult. But in editing, when we're editing our videos, we can do that. We can add visuals to support our words. But it can also be overdone. So we need to do it with care and not overdo it. Well, let's see. We're trying to edit stories that will hit harder. Keep the viewer oriented. Where we are and what's happening. Well, my name is Mitch. If you want to give you some orientation here, my name is Mitch, and I'm coming to you live from a coffee shop in Austin, Texas. So I want to reorient you in case you've just joined us. And we're talking about editing stories that will help our videos hit harder. So, in your videos, make sure the viewer knows where they are at all times. Let them know where we are, what's happening, keep them updated throughout the video. Reassure them that don't let them get lost. And then the last note here, the final cut should move like a conversation, not a lecture. So we want some movement, we want some emotion, we want some conversational speak. I want to be talked to, not talked at. And there is a difference. You can talk at me and shell out information at me like I'm a fourth grader and you're the teacher and you know what's best for me and you're going to tell me what I need to know and you're going to sit here and lecture me. Well, we're suggesting here that when you're editing your videos, be sure the final cut moves more like a conversation. Nobody wants to be lectured to on YouTube, I don't think. I mean, even if you're doing a lecture or doing a TED Talk, you can do it in such a way that it's more conversational. It's more fun. It's more engaging to the audience. And that's what we are trying to do, is engage the audience and bring the audience home to the point that we're trying to make. So that's my take, and I'm sticking to it. That's my 2 cents worth. Well, I tell you, talking about editing, I came across a terrific video that really shows some good editing. This is the thumbnail. It's from the YouTube channel Reflections of Life. And this is an elderly gentleman, 80 years old, and in very simple text, living simply. That pretty much says it all. The video is going to be about his philosophy of just living simply as an 80-year-old. How I live simply at 80 years old. It's a pretty good thumbnail, isn't it? Got a really nice photo of the gentleman, the subject of the video, and it's pretty simple text. And I especially like the lines, the white lines above and below the text. It really helps frame the text out into a headline. Really makes the text, gives some support to the text. Like it's not just floating in air. Those two white lines really nail it down. It's nice. I'm going to steal that. I'm going to start doing that. Some of my thumbnails. So it's 11 minutes long. We'll run through it pretty quick, but I just wanted to show you this video because of the editing. The editing is so good. It's professional. It's top notch. And I think we can learn some lessons by watching it. So let's see what we have here.
Wanting stuff, accumulating stuff, and getting rid of stuff. And I've got rid of stuff.
All right. I'm not going to stop too much here. I don't want to disrupt the flow, but just a couple of things. Listen to the choices of music in the background and take note of all the various editing techniques. Slow motion, the movement from right to left or left to right, close-ups, long shots, medium shots, interspersed with the interview of him sitting on the couch. Look at all the different elements and all the way the editing helps this entire video flow.
I think the secret to contentment is to be happy with what you have and not to have that want, because that want can go on all your life, wanting all the time. And then you work harder and harder and harder because you're wanting. It's a vicious circle. Gets you nowhere. I remember that when we came here, we had a truck and a trailer with things that we thought we would put in the house. And we had so much stuff. What is it? It's stuff. That's all it is. And I said to the guy in the trailer, thank you so much for bringing us here. But please, won't you take this, and won't you take that, and won't you take that with you? It's a gift. You can have it. Just take it away. It's not working for us. So simply kind of evolved for us. We didn't say, let's go and live simply. It was just the way it just happened. And I love it. I really do. We have everything we need and more. And I'm not wanting for anything. This wonderful garden, my relationship with my partner, my relationship with my dog, I'm rich. I don't see richness as being how much money you have. You've got to be rich within your soul, in your being. That's where the richness is. That's how I see it.
Now notice the shift in tone here, the shift in music. Very solemn, very calm, very beautiful, very quiet background music, piano playing softly. Now we're going to shift into much more of an action, up-tempo scene.
I didn't want to be a grown-up or an adult. And I've always enjoyed the lighter side of life. There's very seldom that people say, because you're 80, you've got to be X. So I'm a young 80-year-old, put it that way. I'm very fortunate, and my mind is definitely not being old. My mindset is being young and living a young life. I never actually say, well, I'm running out of time, or there's not much time left, or that kind of thing. No. I'm totally positive about the time that I can hardly even get it out of my mouth. The time I have left. What do you mean have left? I don't have time left. I'm living now in the now. So whatever comes, comes, I'm totally okay with it.
I love the blurring effects and the depth of field here. They're using all kinds of different viewpoints. They're doing close-ups, and they're doing long shots, and they're doing movement from left to right and movement from right to left. But I think you'll notice here on the trail, most of the movement is from left to right, so it keeps us oriented. It's not confusing us. If we have him running in the same direction from left to right throughout this entire scene, it keeps us grounded.
Sometimes when I drive my car to town and I put my hands up in the wheel like this, it's 10 to 2. When you're first learning to drive a car, my mother always said to me, 10 to 2, that's how you hold the steering wheel. And I still remember her. And have a chat to her on my drive to town. And it's been a rocky road. Some of the roads haven't all been smooth and tarmacked. Just as you go in life, you have your ups and downs. My mother died from cancer. That was a dark. That was a dark day for me. And I was left alone. I just sank. It took me a while to survive that, to come round.
Now notice this. I noticed this when I first watched it. There's a thing called a match cut where you compare one previous scene to the next scene, and the action is in a similar motion, a similar scene. It's like you show the shot of a coiled up snake on the ground fixing to strike, and then the next cut shows a coiled up rope that's sitting on the ground next to the garage. It's matching similar scenes from one cut to the next. Well, here it's genius. Here is a match cut, but it's from his voice, it's from his words, it's from the language he's using to the next cut. He ends the sentence with the word round. And then look at the next the cut, the next scene.
To survive that, to come round.
Come round. And look at the motion here of the hand going round. Just beautiful.
She was my everything. She was my mother. And I lived with her for many years. And she looked after me and I looked after her. And so when she passed, it was like, what now? Who do I bounce things off? Who do I talk to? Where do we go from here? But I survived it. But it was very difficult at the time. Life is too short to be sad, bad, upset with somebody. Love them all. Love them all. We're only here for a flash, and you're gone in the greater scheme of things. I'm sure that in my life I've had some negative interactions with people, obviously. If I look at it now, I could say, how silly was that? In the greater scheme of things, how silly was that? If I'd ever have to bump into any one of those people again, I would open my arms and say, I love you. Because I don't carry grudges.
I just want to point out, you probably see them, but look at the jump cuts. They've been doing this throughout the video. They do a jump cut close in when he's about to say something a little bit more profound. Here they jump cut in close and then they jump cut back out.
Actions with people, obviously.
Jump cut.
If I look at it now, I could say, how silly was that? In the greater scheme of things, how silly was that?
Jump cut.
If I'd ever have to bump into any one of those people again, I would open my arms and say, I love you. Because I don't carry grudges.
The point is, if you're going to do a jump cut, do it with purpose. Do it with intent.
Being kind and gentle is so much better for your soul, for my soul. I love people. I love everybody. When I see people, I don't want to shake their hand. I want to give them a little hug. I'm a warm person to everybody. And if you show warmth and love and what, you get it back. You get it back. And if you don't get it back, you're just putting it out there.
And also pay attention to the ambiance sound, the sound of the water, the sound of the birds, the sound of nature. We had the sound of the crackling fire and the sound of the creaky handle on the stove. They are getting all of the surrounding sounds and enhancing them and making them a part of the entire scene. It's just wonderful.
What I love about being who I am at the moment is that I'm totally content. I'm definitely not wanting more. I'd like to be more content. But I'm not wanting. I'm not wanting. I don't have a want. For what? I have everything. And I'm very fortunate to be in this position at this time of my life. The body that I'm in, very fortunate and blessed, really. I have no need for a plaque on a bench or a grave where people come visit. But what I would like is to be cremated and my ashes sprinkled in the sea and some up in the forest. And that's me. Had a good life. The people that I'm close to, or people who are close to me, will remember me, but not to put a monument up somewhere for people to come visit for the first 6 months and then the weeds come up. What for? No. I don't go there. I'm not interested in that. I would like people to remember me as a kind, gentle, considerate, active person. I would like that. That would be my parting shot.
Well, as you can see, editing can go a long way in making a video really, really a wonderful experience. This could have just been a straight interview or talk with some guy on the couch, but interspersing it with these beautiful scenes and with the wonderful music and setting the tone and the mood. Because using edits to help emphasize the tone and the mood, it's just wonderful. It's very well done. A lot of things we can learn from watching that video. Well, let's see. I guess we've been at this about an hour. It may be time to sort of wrap this thing up for the day. Since chat is broken, I'm not going to have anybody in chat, so jump into comments. Let me know what you think. We've been lucky with our Wi-Fi today. The excellent Wi-Fi connection has been going all day, so maybe there won't be too many hiccups, too much latency, which is always a problem. But today it looks like the Wi-Fi was strong, so that's good. I appreciate it. And let's see, I guess we're going to wrap things up until Monday. I'll be back Monday. That would be what's today is the 5th, 6th, that would be the 8th. Monday, December the 8th at 2 p.m. That's 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. Here in the Austin area, we'll be discussing more YouTube and social media and whatever else comes up. So be prepared to come into chat, help us out, let us know what's going on in your part of the world. And until then, that was a terrible way to end this video. Wow, I hit the button too quick. As I'm saying, until Monday, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time here from the Lamppost Coffee Shop. We'll see you then. And when you ba